All right, so for number 2, we have an inclined railway travels along a straight track on a steep hill as shown in the diagram. We have the locations of the stations on the railway, which can be described by coordinates in reference to x, y, and z axis, where x and y are in the horizontal plane, ¿cierto? So this guy and this guy, these are the horizontal plane, and the z axis is in the vertical, which is this guy here, straight up, ¿cierto? Vertical, straight up. All right, so that is my current scenario. They also tell us that the ground level station A has coordinates blah blah blah, which is the same blah blah blah, which is right here, and the coordinates of B are the same up here, ¿cierto? It's always worth checking that stuff, making sure a diagram has all the information that we need. All coordinates are given in meters. Those are units. Let's include it in our answer. So for part 2, part A, we have find the distance between stations A and B. So what is the keyword here? What is the keyword here? Distance, ¿cierto? Anytime you hear the word distance, or even if you're not sure what to do, just open up your formula booklet, see what you can find. Once you identify the buzzwords, it should be relatively easy. So in our formula booklet, we have a distance formula, which is right here. See? So you just gotta trust the process and use it and see where you end up. ¿Cierto? I'll explain in a moment how it works, but I'm just saying this is a tool you can use. You have this the day of the exam, so use it. ¿Cierto? Getting familiar with the formula booklet is very important. So the formula, I conveniently have it written down here. See? Now I'm sure some of you are wondering, okay, but what the heck is x1? What is y1? What is z1? Blah blah blah. See? Essentially, um, what I'm writing right now is one set of points. What I'm writing right now is another set of points. See? And so the x1, notice the 1, ¿cierto? Has to go with another y that has a 1, with another z that has a 1. An x2 has to go with a y2 with a z2. It is illegal. It is completely illegal to have something like this. This does not exist because these are 3 separate points and you're using different coordinates for each and it just don't work. See? So this is like the key stuff I'm trying to explain, ¿cierto? Ones go with ones, twos go with twos. And so your mission right now is to find x1, y1, and z1 that goes together, and an x2, y2, and z2 that go together. So you define which is your first point, and you define which is your second point. Just because I choose to do it this way, I'm going to say that this is my first point, right? And so I will call 140 my x1, 15 my y1, and 0 my z1. Then for the other point, I'm going to call 20 my x2, 5 my y2, and 250 my z2. ¿Cierto? Just take a moment, do this step so that you use the formula like as you should, ¿cierto? So that you don't mess it up. So I'm going to plug in, you know, this stuff down here and see where we end up, ¿cierto? So D is going to equal square root of x1 we said was 140 minus x2 we said was 20 squared plus y1 ¿cierto? 15 minus y2 5 squared plus 0 minus 250 squared. See? So we put all of that into our calculator and we will end up with something that looks a little bit like this. 277 meters. Let's not forget the units. So that is for 2 part A. See? All right, awesome. Then they tell us that station M is to be built halfway between stations A and B and to find the coordinates of station M. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, what is the buzzword? The buzzword is halfway. A mitad de camino, mi compadre. So halfway between stations A and B. So somewhere along this white line, maybe like there, let's call it, is going to be my point M, and it's going to be exactly halfway. That means that this distance here is equal to this distance here. See? All right, awesome. So buzzword, halfway, midway, midpoint. Aha, we open up our formula booklet. Midpoint, where is this bad boy? I can't write it. It's right below it, ¿cierto? So that is the equation we will be using. See? Already identified what x1 and x2 is, y1, y2, z1, z2. So I'm just going to plug in. Should be pretty straightforward. See? Yeah, cool. So having that equation in mind, we will have x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, comma, z1 plus z2 divided by 2. See? And so this will end up giving me 160 divided by 2, 20 divided by 2, 250 divided by 2, and this will be something like part 2 part B gives me 80 comma 10 comma 125. See? So that is the equation we use. That is part B. For part C, we need to write down the height of station M in meters above the ground. See? And so part C is relatively easy. The tough part is like identifying how to read this set of points. ¿Cierto? Because I know that reading a set of points of X, Y, and Z can be seriously confusing. ¿Cierto? So what we're used to reading, so I'm going to start with that. What we're used to reading is X and Y. ¿Cierto? And so we're very used to saying, okay, X is my horizontal, see? And Y is my vertical. This is what we are used to, right? And so it's something like this, see? That is what we're used to looking at. And so a lot of people in this part are going to say, okay, so the height is going to be my Y because it's what it's always been. And they're just going to say the answer for part 2C is going to be 10. Therefore, this 10 here. That is a mistake. That is a mistake because when you're working with 3D, you now know that X and Y is going to be your horizontal. And your vertical is now going to be C. ¿Cierto? So that's like the kind of thing you have to watch out for. For part 2C, it's just going to be this 125 right here. ¿Cierto? If you have 125 meters, ¿cierto? Don't forget the units. If you have a little bit of trouble remembering that, because it is a detail, ¿cierto? Hey, you can always read the problem, ¿cierto? In this problem here, they tell you z-axis is vertical. And even if the problem doesn't tell you that, they should write somewhere down that C is the one that goes straight up, ¿cierto? So there's a couple ways to remember that, right? Anyways, that is number 2.